I'd just spent a week driving the back roads of Colorado with my wife Jennifer. A large number of those roads were first set out as railroad right of ways so trains could get to the towns that sprang up when gold or silver was discovered. Some of those towns and mines are in locations that boggle the mind as to why anyone would ever go there in the first place. Then it seems starting in 1893, all the mines closed and all the people left just to let everything sit around and rot. Why? As with most things in history, to tell one story, there are normally three or four other stories that need to be told to make the one make sense. The story of Colorado ghost towns is no exception. It all goes back to what the United States uses for money. Congress in 1792 passed an act making the dollar our currency. The same act created the United States Mint to produce the money. Should that money be gold or silver backed? Gold-backed money and silver-backed money are two such stories I'll have to tell at another time. Just know powerful people were behind each. The United States switched back between them several times depending on who could influence who. Then there's paper money. Most of the colonies printed their own paper money. What it was worth varied greatly. Regional paper money is why the South was called Dixie. There was a bank in New Orleans that issued $10 banknotes with French words. Dix, D-I-X, is French for 10. These paper notes were used more than the very limited silver or gold coins the United States government issued. Hence, Dixie is the money used in that part of the country. The Continental Congress had no gold or silver to pay for the war with England, so they made up their own paper money to fund the war. By the time the war was over, they were not worth the paper they were printed on. The United States didn't try paper money again, until the Civil War. Wars were very expensive, and the U.S. couldn't fund the war with its on-hand silver or gold. So the Bureau of Engraving and Printing was created to make paper dollars called greenbacks. They could print as many dollars as they needed to pay for the war. Just like in the Revolution, the government-issued paper money started going down in value as more was printed. Then the largest silver deposit ever found was discovered in what is now Nevada. The Virginia City silver pretty much saved the United States in the Civil War. However, there was so much silver that the value went down once the war ended. There was so much silver that by 1873, Congress passed an act that eliminated silver coins from the U.S. Gold coins and paper greenbacks were all there was. Silver came back in 1878 with the Bland-Allison Act, which made silver legal money again and directed the Treasury to buy no less than $2 million of silver per month at current market price and no more than $4 million per month. Now, with a purchaser guaranteed, silver shot up in value. People became prospectors and took to the hills. The geology of silver veins, gold veins, lead, and a huge list of other valuable minerals will have to be another story. Just know silver and gold were found in huge quantities in Colorado. Another story from another time is about Otto Myers. He built paths for his pack mules to get to the mines and haul out the mine ore. Then he widened and improved his paths to take wagons and charge tolls for anyone to use them. The most efficient way to move heavy objects on land is by train. Otto Meyer, for a nominal fee, allowed railroad companies to take over his paths for railroad use. He also scouted paths for the railroad companies. If a mine was producing high-value ore, then with the government's guarantee of buying, the railroads would build tracks to the mine. Some towns, such as Buena Vista, had 4 different railroad tracks built to and through them by 4 different competing companies. The government's guaranteed money allowed the railroads to invest huge amounts of money building things up. They knew they would get it back. Congress, then in 1890, with the Sherman and Silver Act, raised the minimum purchased by the government 50%. With even more guaranteed money, people went to further out of the way places looking for silver. However, even though Congress said so much silver had to be purchased each month and turned into coins, America was dependent on gold at the time. A combination of worldwide and domestic events in the spring of 1893 led to the Panic of 1893. The U.S. had almost no gold reserves by summertime. Politicians, being politicians, tried to shift the blame around, and silver was an easy target. Everything wrong with life was soon blamed on silver, and the Silver Buying Acts were repealed in 1893, never to return. Congress passed an act in 1900, making the gold standard for everything. So for around 16 years, Colorado and other western states were the scene of a free-for-all search for silver, town building, railroad building, and people flowing in. Then when the money stopped flowing, it all went away. Only those places producing top-grade silver, gold, or other precious metals remained open and operating. Once the silver played out, or the gold played out, the train would stop coming. Once the railroad was gone, people normally were too. Some of the towns survived because the railroad still ran through them going somewhere else. A highway went through town, or there was some other industry nearby. It wasn't until after World War II and the ski industry, which is another story for another time, and the resulting tourism business that many, if not most of the mining towns started to actually grow again. Today, they are some of the most expensive real estate in the country because of what is seen on top compared to what we found underneath 140 years ago.